рідна земля мати. Господь, Отець наш Небесний, благословіть. Благословіть! Я йду знищувати! Ворогів землі рідної! Вбив моїх братів! Гвалтівників моїх посадок! Нехай рука моя буде твердою! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай око моє буде ясним! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай зброя моя буде справною! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Нехай воля моя буде сталь! Щоб вбивати ворогів! Україно! Рідна земля мати! Господь, Отець наш Небесний! Благословіть! Наш рішучий наступ! Нашу священну помсту! Нашу святу перемогу!
Good evening, everyone, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on whenever you watch this. This is the Spartan. It's September 25th. I'm really excited to be doing a live stream again. Done a lot of content this past week, more than I think I've ever done before in a calendar 7 days. There's lots of news to cover, lots of interesting stuff to cover, some really cool stuff to cover. And I just want to say too, just a little sidebar, if anybody's ever streamed or recorded a video or thought about it or whatever, I will say that when I first started doing this, I got nervous just even recording a video, and then I got nervous trying to get the stream exactly right or whatever. And then I've watched a lot of experienced streamers out there. Some of them have no openings whatsoever. They just dive right in. Some have potato video quality because they're doing it like from a car, or they're, their house is getting renovated, or they have technical difficulties, and they just power on through it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. So anyways, just a little bit of a sidebar there. I'm kind of enjoying this, and man, I'd love to get a ton of subs and beat the algorithm and do this for a living. But anyways, I'll just keep plugging away, and maybe we'll get there. I know others have done the same thing, has plugged away over months and years, and eventually they got a sort of a loyal subscriber base. They built a community, and they were able to build off of that. So I'd love to get there. But anyways, I'm not going to wax poetic too much right now. We've got lots to cover off. So to start with, so what I'm going to do is, I spent a lot of time collating all these clips and information and media, the news stories on the map. This is an up-to-date map as far as today at 12, I think it was. This is a map by Andrew Perpetua. He's awesome. He takes so much time, and he's so detailed. You can see it's like by block and by field and everything like that. So it's anyways. So It's his map, and then a lot of the news clips are just my own, like finding them and placing them on the map where they go. There's a bunch on here as well from the guys at people. I don't know if they're just guys, but the people at Geolocated. So I want to make sure I give some props out to them as well. So let's dive right in. First things first. So what I've got here is these. I was trying to put a title on here, so this would be like lead story or breaking news or whatever, and then this would be sort of mystery locations. And I couldn't really get it to work on the map to make it look good, so I've segmented them off. So I'm going to cover off these two lead stories, and then we're going to go around the horn. We'll start at about 7 o'clock here, and we'll work counterclockwise all the way up, and I'll make sure I don't miss anything. And if anybody joins in the chat and wants to either ask me some questions, take a deep dive into something, etc., let me know. I'm gonna try to keep an eye on the chat. I'm a one-man show, but anyways, hopefully some people, and I just love to hear where people are from, and anything at all. So to start with, so the first Abrams have arrived in Ukraine. This has been confirmed. First of all, it was sort of rumored, and then it was confirmed by President Zelensky on Telegram, I believe it was. He confirmed as well, and the rumor it's been around for a couple of days now. The rumor, this fairly firm rumor, if you want to call it that, is that there are 10 Abrams in the first batch. No idea if that's the case or not. They are M1A1 Abrams tanks. There are many different loadouts to the M1A1 Abrams, as well as the A2, as well as the A3, etc. Like there's, so we don't know yet sort of which variant they are getting. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because the M1A1 is basically head and shoulders above anything that the Russians put on the battlefield, shy of maybe the T80 BVM and the T90. But even still, those ones are explosions waiting to happen. They still have the ammo in a carousel underneath all the troops. They're basically built off a T72 frame. They're glorified. They have atrocious armor. The only thing they've got is they've got a Storus anti-ATGM system. They've got better optics on the T90 especially. But at the end of the day, we've seen the first T90 was taken out by a Carl G that was given to the Ukrainians by the Canadians, and it was hit on a top-down shot and basically took it out, and that was their premier tank. These M1A1 Abrams, when the U.S. has them domestically, they have depleted uranium armor, which is basically one of the most dense substances known to mankind. So basically, it's denser than most of the munitions being shot at it, and therefore it's extremely hard to penetrate. These, and I'm not, by the way, this is not for sure. This picture is not guaranteed to be the tanks heading to Ukraine, although there's a good chance they did get the tan variant from like Desert Storm, etc., and they were basically going to be painting them up themselves. This very well could be a train going to Ukraine, or it could be just a stock photo that somebody grabbed. But the Ukrainians will not be getting the depleted uranium armor. That is 100% for sure. That is still top secret to this day. Nobody gets that except for the U.S. And we don't know what they're getting as far as which upgraded variant of the M1A1s, from a loadout, from an optics, from onboard computers, all that sort of stuff. We don't know exactly which version they're getting yet, but again, they are head and shoulders above anything that the Russians are putting on the battlefield. That being said, without the depleted uranium armor, these tanks with their stock armor are astounding. They can take a ton of damage. They're probably tied with, or it's always a battle. Who's got the better tank? Is it the Leopard 2? Is it the Challenger 2? Or is it is it the M1 family? From an optics standpoint, from a distance kill shot standpoint, the Challenger has the record. for the longest kill. I believe it's 5 kilometers. The Challenger also has had the sort of bragging rights of never having one of their tanks taken out in combat. And technically, the one that was taken out in Ukraine was not really taken out in combat per se. It ran over a mine. It basically immobilized it. It was a mobilization kill. They fully abandoned the tank and left it there. And then the Russians were able to come along afterwards and hit it with drones and ATGMs or whatever and take it out. So it hasn't been lost in a tank on tank or a tank on BMP or whatever battle. That being said, the armor and survivability of the Challenger, the Leopard, and the Abrams, I would put the Abrams and the Challenger sort of 1A, 1B. You choose which one goes where. From an optics standpoint, I believe the Challenger's got a little further distance viewing by about 1,000 meters or so, 500 meters, but again, depends on the loadout. So that's really good news. The first batch of tanks that was promised by the U.S. was 31, which makes up a tank battalion. Like we said, the rumor is that 10 are being delivered in this first batch, but it could be more, it could be less, it could be all of them. We don't know. We won't know until we actually get confirmation, and we probably won't get confirmation until they've already seen battle. It's just, why would you advertise what you've got, where it's going, etc.? So we know 31's coming. That being said, what's been making the rounds is that there is more than just a rumor. It's basically like sources inside the U.S. military are stating that another batch of Abrams are also being lined up to be sent to Ukraine, upwards of another 30 additional into the on top of the ones they've already received. So that would basically be another battalion of tanks. My hope is that the Ukrainians, the Americans behind the scenes, have been working on preparing additional tranches of these tanks to be delivered, because it takes a long time to identify the tanks that you want to send, get them in working condition, get them fully stripped down of any parts that are not supposed to go, take off the armor if they did actually have the depleted uranium armor on them, take that armor off, replace it with, a non top secret armor, whatever, and get them all up and running and transported from like the Western U.S., for example, is where they might be coming from, all the way across through to shipping, I believe, I think it's out of Texas. Anyways, but so it takes a long time to get them ready, identified, ready, and transported. So I hope the U.S. has got a bit of an assembly line going in the background, and these 30 tanks, when they, if they truly are going in addition to the original 31, that they'll be able to be sent very quickly. I did want to play this little cool video for you on the M1A1. And this channel, Spartan News, does not condone claims of the greatest tank in the world or not. I'm just the messenger. I don't want people attacking me, but here you go.
The M1 Abrams has struck fear in the hearts of enemy combatants on battlefields around the world. Here's how this mammoth machine gained its reputation.
60 to 64 tons, depending on the loadout, I believe, is the max.
The M1 Abrams was initially introduced in 1980, named after General Creighton Abrams, a prominent commander of military operations during the Vietnam War. The M1 was created to give its users unparalleled levels of dominance on the field. It has main guns that can shoot projectiles up to 4.7 inches in size, extremely rigid armor fitted with extra layers of steel and depleted uranium, and Caterpillar tracks powered by gas turbine engines. The M1 Abrams is not only a platform of destruction, but also one of technological innovation. It went on to see two subsequent iterations, the M1A1 and the M1A2. Each iteration was heavier and slower, but also fitted with far more powerful armaments and advanced technology. All three designs still continue to see use in theaters of war around the world today. The M1 Abrams is not just incredibly tough, it's also surprisingly mobile given its size and weight. Much of this could be attributed to its treads, continuous steel plates linked together with chainmail. The treads allow the M1 to traverse all sorts of terrain that normal tires would find impossible, such as extremely steep inclines and even crevices in the ground. This is to ensure that no target would be safe from its onslaught. So how do the treads work? Nicknamed caterpillar treads, they are wrapped around a set of 7 road wheels on both sides of the M1 and are powered by drive sprockets. These drive sprockets were the only wheel directly powered by the M1's unique engine. Instead of a regular gas piston engine, the M1 Abrams is powered by a low-weight, high-powered gas turbine engine, which could burn a variety of fuels. With these tanks regularly clocking in at over 60 tons, they definitely need a substantially powered engine to effectively carry all that load. The gas turbine engines enable the tanks to reach speeds of up to 45 miles per hour, despite their massive weight. They also sport a 265-mile range, thanks to a 500-gallon fuel tank. So what kind of armaments does this behemoth come with? The M1 Abrams is fitted with an M256 4.7-inch smoothbore main gun. That means its rounds are over 20 times the size of AK-47s. It has an effective range of 1.9 miles and is built with stabilizers, allowing the gun to remain locked onto its target regardless of the terrain. The main gun fires a large variety of destructive rounds, such as armor-piercing, dart-like sabots and explosive anti-tank rounds, so it can immediately dispatch opposing tanks on the field. A new advanced multi-purpose round is also in development by the military, which can destroy any obstacles in the M1's path, deter anti-tank guided missiles, and breach stout bunker defenses. Thanks to onboard networking technology on the tank and round, gunners can detonate these explosive shells remotely, bolstering the M1's already precise munitions capabilities. Aside from its main gun, the M1 comes with up to 3 more conventional machine guns for anti-personnel purposes. These are mounted on top of the main gun, and crew members access them from their respective hatches. The M1 also comes with 2 6-barreled M250 smoke grenade launchers to make it hard for enemies to see the tank during combat. The M1 is crewed by a team of 4 people, a commander, loader, gunner, and driver. The commander, responsible for guiding the tank toward mission objectives, is located in the turret basket, along with the loader and the gunner.
Apparently the USS Stormtroopers, they're not stormtroopers, but
Loader is responsible for loading the gun.
the uniforms are
and then
fantastic.
the gunner guides it towards its intended target using the onboard fire control computer. The driver is positioned near the front and has to almost lie down due to the limited space. The driver then has access to the tank's traditional brake controls, using a handle to steer as well as accelerate. The M1 and its variants have been employed by 8 different countries for their land-based skirmishes. Production for new models continues to this day, over 40 years after its debut on the battlefield. With new designs on the horizon, featuring autoloaders, more advanced targeting systems, and greater speeds and mobility, who knows how long it will hold its reign as the greatest tank in the world.
Okay, and Leopard lovers and Challenger lovers and anybody else, don't get on me about that. Like I said, I didn't grab the video because it claims that the A1 is the greatest tank in the world. They all have their I think sweet spots and specialties, that sort of thing. So Gwern in the chat just asked if I could can we see a progression map from the start of the invasion, and that just brought me down memory lane because there seemed to be a long stretch there where various content providers would show this one map provider, I don't remember who it was, and it would basically kind of each night it would tick through. It would show the progression for, and like, and anytime there was some big moves or whatever, you would see that, and it would take about, maybe it felt like about a minute or so to go through the full map. So I'm gonna make that a homework assignment for myself. I did. This is not what I was looking for at all, but I did find this particular video of the change in territory since the invasion, but it goes so fast. It's way less detailed and it's way faster than what I remember. So there's February 24th. And then I guess if you played this really slow, you can see all the territory down to Kyiv, tried to surround Kharkiv, etc., across the Dnipro, right? There's the right bank of the Dnipro, basically taking the whole Kherson Oblast. They were going to try to make an end run over through what is that, Mykolaiv? Is that Mykolaiv? Yeah, and then over to Odessa. That failed incredibly. Surrounding Mariupol before it fell. And then you see that's just when the Russians basically got kicked in the teeth, got knocked all the way back out of Chernobyl and the Kyiv run and Bucha and all that sort of stuff. They got knocked all the way back into Belarus, and then that's my son playing Xbox. And then I didn't even think that would come up. That's funny. And then basically they settled down into that little bit of a salient there, and the rest of the Kharkiv Oblast, whatever. And they were still on the other side of the Dnipro. And then you'll see the Ukrainians did the feint, made it seem like they were going to attack Kherson, drew all the troops out of here, attacked Kharkiv, blew them out of that oblast all the way to what it's at today, and then starved out the troops on the right, the Russian troops on the right side of the Dnipro, the east bank or the right side of the bank, and then eventually they all boogied across in civilian vehicles. So you see, boom, boom, boom. That's where it happened right there. That's where they 70,000 square kilometers or something like that. It was insane. And then Kherson cleaned out, and now you see not much. You'll see a little bit of a salient there. You see a little bit of movement down there. The salient starts to expand a bit. I think fairly soon we're going to see that expand a lot more. But anyways, thanks for the memory lane. And I will, like I said, I don't know if that person is still providing, that person or that channel is still providing that sort of, minute and a half progression through the war and the territory changes and that sort of thing. But I'll take a look and see if something exists and throw it into a stream or a video in the future. So back over to, so we covered the Abrams, and the other thing that I wanted to cover real quick was this could be a nothing burger, or it could be the next shoe to fall off of the supporters of Putin. So basically, when Vladimir Putin makes something public, it typically is for a reason, right? He's not just blowing smoke when it comes to internal politics. If he's mad at somebody, they're going to get paid back. If he's challenging somebody, they've got to meet that challenge. So I wouldn't really want to be in Shoigu's shoes at this point, but Putin ordered Shoigu to stop the counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine by October. Analysts at the Institute for the Study of War, citing an insider source in the Kremlin, and if they're citing a source in the Kremlin, they believe it, claim that the Russian president gave Shoigu a month to improve the situation on the front line, stop the Ukrainian counteroffensive, and return the initiative to Russian troops. The report suggests that Russian military commanders may order continuous counterattacks to force the Ukrainian counteroffensive to reach a climax, even at high cost to Russian military capabilities. So basically throw everything at them with the kitchen sink, and since they're out of any sort of substantial usable armor, it could be meat waves. Putin and the Kremlin view Russia defensive operations as major victory on the battlefield. So basically, holding the territory that they have, they're now describing as the victory, as opposed to taking new territory. And constant Russian counterattacks allow the Kremlin to call these operations individual victories against the backdrop of a general lack of Russian success on the battlefield elsewhere. ISW details. So that's something to keep an eye on. It could be nothing. I mean, Shoigu is a complete bootlicker and obviously outlived Prigozhin, and he's a yes man and tells Putin what he needs to hear, and Putin doesn't have a phone, he doesn't go on the internet, so it's basically intelligence sources, military sources that give him information. So whoever's got his ear, last kind of wins the battle as far as keeping in Putin's good books. So we'll see what happens. Shoigu and Gerasimov are epic failures when it comes to military tacticians, and it's horrible to say, but Prigozhin and Utkin from Wagner were military geniuses. They were like Sun Tzu compared to these two Nimrods. So I could see a lot of frontal assaults, unsupported infantry attacks on strong points to try to halt progression, and it's going to be at the cost of Russian lives, sadly for all. So that's the two kind of key news items. I'm going to go around the horn. There was so much information. I was like, I'm including too much, but I know some channels you might watch, and there's only like 10 or 11 news items, but they, and it takes so long to get through them all because they go down deep rabbit holes or talk about other things. And then for me, I'm kind of more of a, I like to kind of touch on things, give information that's really, valuable and pertinent on a wide range of things that have happened. And then if something pops up either from someone in the chat or breaking news comes along on one of those topics, happy to take a deep dive into those. So yeah, I'm going to start. Oh, I almost forgot over here. So we're going to start over in Kosovo, and again, this is not directly related to Ukraine, but it points out a couple things. So basically, what happened is, if some of you may have heard in the news, a handful of Serbian terrorists, if you want to call them that, basically ambushed some people and ended up killing a police officer and in Kosovo, and then ran from the police, and a couple of them I think were maybe eliminated on the streets, and then they went to a monastery and they kind of hid out in the monastery. And one, it kind of sounded like Little Green Men when they sort of started the insurgency and et cetera for Ukraine in 2014. But then two, Ukraine, the Russian Orthodox churches in Ukraine were being used to house terrorists and weapons and all that sort of stuff. So I thought it was kind of interesting that the same sort of tactic was used here. Anyways, long story short is, I think it got pretty violent, but the Kosovo authorities basically finally stormed the monastery, eliminated the remaining insurgents or terrorists or whatever you want to call them. And I want to show you the weapons cache. This wasn't just a couple of guys with Kalashnikovs. The standoff between the Kosovo security forces and the Serbian terrorists in the Bashki monastery is over. 3 Serbian terrorists were eliminated and 4 were arrested. More interesting was the huge amount of weapons, ammunition, and cars stored in the monastery. It's impossible to haul so much weaponry without knowledge of the Serbian intelligence, meaning this was a failed attempt by Belgrade to stir up problems. Now, the thing is that Serbia wants in the EU, and they've kind of made overtures towards the EU and towards Ukraine on certain, possibly weapons, and then on the flip side that they're kind of like all pro-Russia, and wanting to stir up things with Kosovo. So it's kind of like they're bipolar. They're not quite sure what they want to do here. But 2 things they confiscated: the 2 G-Wagons from a monastery. Each one is 100,000 euros. So these were high-profile operations. This is the typical Serbian topic we could witness before in the 1980s and later in the war. Serbian provocateurs in Croatia and Kosovo were sent out so that local police beat them up, right? So they purposely wanted to go get beat up on film in front of other people, especially in Kosovo when the police were beating up Serbian rioters. Milosevic appeared in his infamous Niko Nezme Dava speech, "Nobody's allowed to beat you." It was Serbia's battle cry for the genocide and 4 lost wars. This is a one-to-one repeat, but with the difference that NATO is standing watch. So KFOR is the Kosovo. Oh, I can't remember what KFOR stands for. Anyways, it's basically the peacekeeping force from NATO. This is the weapons and vehicle cache that 7 guys had in a monastery. Those, I believe, are pipe bombs. And I can't even count them. There are, that's got to be 24, 100, 124 10s. We'll saw 34, 44, 54, 64, 74, 174, almost 180. These look like little RPGs. I don't know what's in those, but anyways, so close to 200 pipe bombs, whatever those are, for 7 guys, and then dozens of hand grenades, and those appear to be potentially gun launched. I don't know what those are. They look like they're plastic encased, but anyways, so more det court. I don't know, that's det court, and there's the G wagons, $100,000 each. And I haven't been able to tell if those are just uniforms and bags that everything was being stored in or what. But anyway, so you can basically see this is 7 guys. So this is the tactic that the Serbians have used and that the Russians have used for years. So I just wanted to point that out. Very, very good job by the Kosovo authorities, as well as KFOR possibly, in rooting these guys out, exposing them. Unfortunately, one Kosovoian police officer lost his life. A couple others were injured, but that's been taken care of. So anyways, just I don't think it's something to keep an eye on. I don't think we're going to see any repeat of that. Hopefully not. But so moving on, this one's kind of interesting. It's happened before on the Russian side, but the thought is, so this is Moldova. This is the breakaway little region of Transnistria, which the Russians fomented, the same thing that they did in Georgia and Chechnya and in the Donbass in Ukraine. Basically, they find some ethnic Russian speakers and basically say, y'all want to break away and we'll support you, whatever. So that's Transnistria is the breakaway region. Inside that region, a S-300 rocket crashed. The belief is that it might be a Ukrainian S-300 that was fired at a Russian missile. There's not much to the story here, but basically the debris fell into the gardens of a village in Kitskani. According to preliminary reports, there were no casualties whatsoever. The warhead on the missile hit the ground but didn't even explode. The explosion occurred at 1 a.m. So just kind of interesting. I stumbled across that and I was like, what do you mean a missile landed in Transnistria? Like, is this a big deal or not? It's not a big deal at all. But good that nobody was hurt. And I haven't seen an official confirmation that it was Ukrainian. It could be a Russian one, but I don't think it's actually possible. I don't think the S-300s have the range when in a ground-to-ground mode to make it all the way there. Possibly they do from over here, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. Nobody was hurt, didn't detonate. Get some EOD guys on that and get it out of there. So into Odessa, some sad news, but luckily no one was injured or killed. The Russians targeted what was a vacant hotel, beautiful hotel, but a vacant hotel in Odessa. about 36 hours ago. They claimed that it was NATO headquarters in Odessa. That's what they've been putting on the media. NATO headquarters, not NAFO, NATO. The Odessa residents, and this says the 2 residents were killed, but I don't believe they were killed from this hotel attack. I think that they were killed from other cruise missiles, etc., striking. But overnight, Russia launched 15 Shaheeds, 12 caliber cruise missiles, and 2 Onyx supersonic missiles against Odessa. The Onyx are carrier killers. They're supposed to fly low across the ocean and slam into the side of a carrier and break it in two and sink it. So Russia decided, why not send those after shopping malls and hotels? All 19 UAVs and 11 calibers were shot down. I believe the Onyx both impacted. And the port infrastructure, the marine station, and the hotel has been damaged. So going back to here, hotel number 2. This shows you the before and after. So you can see, beautiful hotel. Looks like something could be on the Vegas Strip or whatever, but it was the Hotel Odessa, and that's it afterwards. Again, vacant. Not that it was in disrepair, but I don't think they had a lot of tourists visiting Odessa, so they didn't have a lot of need to staff this, so it basically remained vacant. And the Russians struck it, I believe, at the base, and that entire wing was burning up. You could see it on video. Just horrifying. So the Ukrainians hit headquarters of Russians, and the Russians hit hotels of Ukrainians. That makes sense to me. The 160th Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade in Odessa. So this is them working, shooting down those Shaheeds and calibers. And this is some really cool video. Like, there is something really cool about nighttime anti-air. You see it off in the distance, and it struck something. That one to me looks like a Patriot. It acts like a Patriot, but not an expert. And that was a strike. And then I can't remember, is that the anti-air or is that the missile that it shot? It's going down in the water. Let's see. It struck it. Anyways, pretty cool. It's impressive to see what they can take down, and you're hitting a bullet with a bullet basically at sometimes supersonic speeds. It's impressive. It's all get out. So now we're going to move on down to a place that you might have heard has been a little bit busy lately. Good old Sevastopol. And I heard online, just over the last couple hours, that Sevastopol might be being hit again, but I literally couldn't fit any more into the stream tonight. So Sokolov gone, building is a write-off. So, and again, I was so glad I told you guys a couple of days ago that I put out that stream or video, and I basically kind of made some firm statements that Sokolov was eliminated. 30 others at least were eliminated, and they were calling for 40 ambulances, and I didn't put enough caveats around it. I was like, oh my God, please tell me, you know, not that you wish for death or not, to make yourself right on a video or stream. But the flip side, I was like, I didn't want to be putting my foot in my mouth there and be wrong, and you know, have a couple of guys were injured, and that was it, and I gotta do a full-on retraction. Anyways, Sokolov is gone, and so are 31 of his top officers. They literally had a general staff meeting on the upper floor of the Black Sea Fleet headquarters, and he called the meeting, called everybody in, and some people in the Russian military that weren't getting paid contacted the Atesh partisan brigade and told them exactly what was happening and when. And they hit it with 3 Storm Shadow missiles, 1 for each wing, 1 from the side into his office window, and then 2 from the top in the other wings, and basically eliminated all of them. Rumor, I think, I don't know if I have it in this one, but 31 officers of the Black Sea Fleet, 100 plus other people were eliminated. And obviously, surprise, surprise, the building was so damaged that it's a complete write-off, and they've actually started blowing it up and dismantling it. So, good to know. Good to know. My sources that I was leaning on, not someone I was calling, but the sources that I was using were claiming that it was what it was. So that's good to know. Something that continues to explode in Sevastopol. 3 explosions. Now this was from a few hours ago, but 3 explosions have already been counted. Smoke screen has been erected over the southern bay. I love the translation sometimes. So basically, this was again another broad daylight strike. This is what would be considered a substantial strike on land. You can see black smoke, so something other than ammo was hit. And then it's hard to tell. That's discolored. This is white. This smoke here typically seems to mirror what the Russians use for smokescreen. The only good that this smokescreen will do on the water like this is if if the Ukrainians were using unmanned sea vehicles, those sea babies and things like that, to potentially mask a ship. So I think the Russians basically just think anytime a drone attack or something is happening, they shut down the Kerch Bridge and they start blasting smoke screens everywhere on the hopes that they're going to be able to blind something simple that the Ukrainians are using. Unfortunately for them, the Ukrainians are not using things that require visuals. They're using things that require, GPS for the most part. So smokescreen is a nice show, but maybe makes the people feel good, but it's not doing anything. So anyways, Sevastopol was hit again. I think that's 3 or 4 days consecutive. Next up, air raids. So this was I think this is air raid sirens going off. I just wanted to play it for you. This is into the evening. Prior you saw that was daylight, so this is either the evening prior or the evening afterwards. I'm not sure, but hopefully the Russian MOD doesn't get a good night's sleep for all the hundreds and hundreds of bad night sleeps they've given the Ukrainians. Anyways, nothing too exciting there. Just wanted to know that the air raids were continuing into the evening, or from the evening into the daylight, which is got to give the Russians a little bit of angst and a little bit of taste of their own medicine. All right, so got a few clips around our lovely salient that's getting bigger and bigger. We'll start off here to the west. So, as you may or may not know, the Ukrainians and the Russians have been using decoys, and decoys have been used in military conflicts for forever. The Ukrainians are basically artists when it comes to creating decoys. I've seen a couple of companies or individuals, and it's like this one gentleman, he runs a factory, and they make decoys of everything, and they make these M777s that look exactly like M777s, and they cost like $1,000 or whatever, and so they sell them to the Ukrainian military. The Ukrainian military takes these 777s out, and they set up what looks like an artillery firing position, and set them up in the woods, put a camo net on it, and just leave it there. Sometimes they move them around, and they wait. And then the Ukrainians will use a Lancet and an Orlan and all that sort of stuff, and they'll locate the M777, and they'll send in some expensive drone to take it out, some long-distance kamikaze drone, and boom, they've taken out $1,000 piece of garbage, PVC and pipes. And then there's also some companies, I think it was a Norwegian company or a Finnish company, I can't remember, that was creating these inflatable duplicates of some of the higher end equipment that the Ukrainians have, like tanks or SPGs, and they looked so real you couldn't even believe it. So the Russians are kind of doing the same thing. They're trying to make some decoys out there and draw in some Ukrainian drones, or maybe expensive ammunition. If they could get the Ukrainians to blow an Excalibur round on a couple of inflatables, that'd be great. Unfortunately, as per the Russian norms, their inflatables look like inflatables. They're not bad from a very far distance, but as soon as you get up close, there's no detail. So here are the inflatable Russian tanks, and you can be honest with me and tell me in the chat if you. I've been looking at enough of these T-Series tanks. I can tell you that there's something wrong with that T-Series the second that I look at it from this distance. But you can take a look as well, let it play a bit, and then you decide what you think looks odd. It's not rocking in the wind, so it's fairly stable. So I gotta stop it right there. So this is where it gets kind of bad. So this, what do you want to call it? This is the glacis here, this fairing, if you want to call it that, fender, whatever. It looks like it's overinflated and it's bulging out and rounded. These corners here do not look like a tank's. They are completely rounded and soft looking. There is no, I can't tell if the hatch, there's no hatch. This looks like this could be a hatch here, but there's no definition to the hatch whatsoever. The back, it looks like it's almost caved in, like it wasn't inflated enough at the back, and there's no definition to anything back there, and these just look like airbags. And there's no real ERA definition. I think they tried to make these lines to look like cheap ERA, but it's not even the same shape as the right ERA. So a drone pilot worth half their salt would basically pick this out in a heartbeat, because this looks like a cool kid's toy, but all wrong. This one's a little bit harder because of the shading. Might be a little more defined, but again, it looks like a T10. Like the turret is all wrong. There's none of the ERA that comes off to give the certain one shape and that sort of thing. So really bad. If I was the Ukrainians, I would fly a drone out with a couple of darts, and I would just drop the darts onto these and then watch them deflate and laugh, and just laugh. I think that would be hilarious. They look pretty bad. There's 3 of them. And you'd also question too, why are these tanks parked where they are and not moving? 3 tanks completely abandoned, and I can't see a turret open or closed, or sorry, a hatch open or closed. Let me take a look. Oh, there's no hatch. Anyways, good try. College try. What do we got here? Russian observation post destroyed in Tokmak. And I can't spell Tokmak. That's my spelling, not theirs. So this is a pretty good takeout. So again, this is one of those sort of, the Russians love using these things. They'll put motion detectors, cameras, the infrared, night vision, whatever they put on these things to observe. Typically close to a border, close to a checkpoint. This one looks fairly substantial. It's pretty tall. It's above the tree line. I would assume it's got, a couple of different cameras. Welcome to you. And anybody watching this, take a guess what kind of ammunition that was. And yes, that is a HIMARS. I call it the tungsten HIMARS. So basically, I'm not quite sure. Maybe they didn't want to use a unitary warhead, so they had lots of the tungsten ones or whatever. Maybe they weren't sure that the unitary could take it out per se, because if it missed the top, then it would hit the base and maybe not blow it up. So maybe that was the best one. but to me, they hit in the air, right beside it, proximity, almost like they struck it. So that was a hell of a shot. I've seen this clip played by a couple other streamers or whatever, and they just let it play full speed. And then I was like, how did they hit that? Because why didn't they just hit the base of it? And wouldn't it still be working? You got to hit it in the air to make sure you get it. They literally had that warhead blow up right beside it, 25 feet off the ground. And then you see all of the tungsten fragments. So if there's anything in range, it's going to be decimated as well.
Welcome to Ukraine.
I love this song.
Freedom calls.
It's just a banger. Anyways, cool shot. I'm sure there was some people sitting in a dugout watching video or whatever and saying jaga jaga, and boy did they nail it. Let's go to this one next. East of Robotyne, a German supplied Marder 1A3 in Ukrainian servers is hit by Russian ATGM, with the vehicle remaining intact and the entire mounted Ukrainian infantry team successfully exfiltrating into a nearby Ukrainian held tree line. One thing I forgot to say about the Abrams, I wanted to trash on them a bit, just like I do with every tank, is they're not made of adamantium. Their tracks are good tracks, but they're not made of adamantium. They will be taken out by anti-tank mines. They will be possibly taken out by ATGMs or a Lancet in the right spot or a couple Lancet in the right spot. However, this Marder is made of adamantium. It basically took an ATGM strike dead on and laughed it off. And I mean, I can't see smoke. Watch the strike that this German Marder takes. And when you see the explosion, you're thinking, oh, all these guys inside are done. That's substantial, right? Pretty good hit, big explosion. And then, and maybe there's smoke in a bit. Maybe that's engine smoke, but it really dissipates. And then it stops. And like, if that's a T-72 or T-80 or whatever, that thing's blown up. These guys all get out of the back like nothing happened. They all go running off in the woods to do their mission. Marder has no smoke coming off it whatsoever. Close the door. And I'm guessing starts to roll away. I don't know, but that is one of the most impressive things I've seen. It's not a Bradley. That's not a Challenger. That's a infantry fighting vehicle. And it took that large ATGM like it was nothing, like it just a bird bounced off the windshield. Anyways, ISW summary. This is a good summary from the Institute for the Study of War. Ukrainian forces may be able to achieve an operationally significant breakthrough in the southern front line if several key assumptions hold. I would say if several key factors are come to fruition is the way I would have said it, but a significant Ukrainian success will be more likely if, well, some of these are no-brainers, but Russian forces do not have the necessary reserves or combat power to maintain Russian defenses in the western Zaporizhia Oblast. So they don't have any reserves. It's common knowledge. The Russians have said it, the Ukrainians have said it, open source have said it, privately people have said it. They are out of reserves. They do not have any sort of standoff reserve force ready to go to fill in gaps. They are rotated. They are stealing from Peter to pay Paul. So that's number one as a check. Ukrainian forces retain enough combat power to continue pushing after exhausting Russian combat power. Check. They're getting new and replacement equipment on a daily, weekly basis. Countries continuously step up to replenish the reserves, and things that are being taken out of the battlefield, like I think they've lost 2 Leopard A6s, permanently lost them. The rest of them have been damaged, recovered, some of them have been fixed and put back into battle. So if it's recoverable and it's fixable, it's back in the battle. If it's not, it's used for spare parts. The Ukrainians still have, by my estimation, purely estimation, at least 25,000 reserves, and more coming because of more are being trained on a regular basis. So that's a check number 2. 3. Russian defensive positions behind the current battle area are not as heavily mined or well prepared as the fortifications that Ukrainian forces have breached. That's a check. Already we know that. Why? Because we've seen the Ukrainians bust through the Surovikin line, trenches, Dragon's Teeth, etc. And when they've made it into the rear, they've encountered much less anti-tank mines. And they've also been able to observe the way the Russians retreat, and they've followed them on those retreat paths to basically kind of use their path as a safety, as a way of knowing where to go, what's safe. So if 2 fields are completely mined, 5 mines every square meter, and you see the Russian forces retreat and they all go down a certain path or a certain road, and they don't mine it as they're leaving, you know you can follow them safely and basically keep attacking them on the move. So that's check, check, check. So that's done. That's why they are breaking out. It's not just they could break out. They are breaking out in the south. This is 36 hours old, if not more. And that's basically them breaking through, approaching the next level of the Surovikin line, and they're going to encircle Verbove. Go into Verbove, potentially encircle it. They'll go into it if there's not much resistance. If there's a lot of resistance, they'll encircle it and scare them out. The Ukrainians are not going to trade lives for land when they can basically go around and starve them out. Oops. Hang on a second. I don't want to do that. I think good. I need to undo that. Sometimes this map, it gets finicky, and you can pull all of Russia aside if you want, or something like that. I wish I could, but anyways, Ukrainian BMPs entering Verbove. Speaking of Verbove, so this is on the western outskirts of Verbove. Oh, someone needs a muffler check. Need that. So that's the western edge of Verbove by all accounts, off in the distance, smoking, and you can see in the shadow, here's a gentleman sitting on top of this BMP filming, and they are approaching, not under fire. It looks pretty comfortable. There's another one there. Is that a tank? Looks like a BMP. I don't see a gun. But anyways, so good to see that they are progressing towards Verbove. And I wanted to show you this NASA Firms. So basically, NASA Firms is a fire information reconnaissance management system. I think that's what the satellite stands for, what the satellite service stands for. And basically what it'll do is it'll pick up fires if they're 30 meters or greater. Everything depends on, there's a lot of things it depends on. Depends on the weather conditions, depends on the heat. You can have firms, Africa looks like it's all on fire because it's so hot. That's the sensitivity of firms. It basically says it's all a fire. So you can't use it in Africa. You can't use it on really, really, really hot days in North America. Death Valley looks like it's burning all the time, etc. On top of that, if there's cloud cover, if there's smoke, if there's foliage, if there's all that sort of stuff. But in ideal conditions, firms will pick up fires if they are 30 meters or greater, and if they are, obviously going when the satellite passes, and when it passes the second time, it'll match them up. And so, oh, tell me you kept Verbove. Where did it go? Come on. Where's my fires? I think it's aged out. 24. There we go. Okay, so that's for Bove. There we go. Okay, so not ideal. It aged out a bit, the picture that I had, but this is basically, let's see if I can get you an for Bove. This is for Bove right there. There we go. That's what I wanted to show you. So you can basically see these are not forest fires, right? A lot of these are farmers' fields. So you can basically see here the substantial amounts, and each pixel, I forget, there's definitions. Each one of these pixels represents a 30 meter by 30 meter minimum fire. So it's not to say that this is all a raging inferno, but at the same time, you can see how many fires, how many artillery strikes have taken place in and around Verbove to basically show up on the firm's map like that. And it's not just there. You can see it's all over Ukraine. It's an excellent resource. I'd recommend anybody use it if you want to nerd out a bit. You can basically tell where there's attacks going on within 24 hours or so because you'll see the fires showing up. But so there is Verbove. So you can basically tell it has been, the outskirts of it especially have been under constant attack for days, and there are dozens and dozens of fires, if you want air quote fires. Okay. So I just thought you'd find that interesting. Moving on from there, let's go down to Mariupol. Good old Mariupol. One day it'll fall. In occupied Mariupol, partisans destroyed the transformer installations to provide the occupiers' base with electricity. So whatever's feeding electricity to the Russians' base in Mariupol, it went up in smoke. So they won't be having any electricity tonight or in the near future. And that looks like pretty substantial. So good on the partisans. Going up here. This is an FPV, first person view compilation. Is this the 82nd? No, it's not the 82nd. No, I don't think we have a unit for this one. Anyways. The chances that's copyright, I have no idea. Look at did you see the cope gauge on that thing? Like, it's like a bird cage all over that thing. The drone operators don't care. They fly into the cope cage or they just hit it in the rear. It's a BTR, I think that was. There's the drone flying in there. And there's a van, Scooby-Doo van. Got struck over there. Sometimes these drones cut away because they're like out of battery power and the next drone picks up afterwards. Sometimes they fly around to get another angle. Their gimbal doesn't follow. It's annoying, but you know what? It happens. A Russian 269 known as 120 millimeter self-propelled mortar was destroyed by an FPV loitering munition of the Ukrainian 72nd Mechanized Brigade in the Yahrovika Donetsk Oblast. So this is a Nona. It's a no-no. And to me, I mean, it's so messed up that the hatches are open. It's abandoned. If you ask me, to me that almost looks like a T series, but they're saying it's a heavy mortar. I guess so. The turret looks weird for a tank, right? Anyways, here it comes in. It's got an RPG-7 on the front. Aim right for the soft spot in the back. Punch a hole, instant flames. Instant flames. Like, that's crazy. That is probably a $400 RPG-7 strapped onto a $2,000 or $3,000 drone. And there you go. I would say that's a bit of a write-off. Call it $4,000 to take out, I don't know, 750,000 to 1 million. I don't know what a Nona costs, but I know most of the tanks cost around 3 to 5, depending on the kind of tank they are. So it's definitely worth. It's worth the. Well, it's the juice is worth the squeeze, as they say. Going up here, a Russian BM-21 Grad was destroyed. I think this one hiding in the woods as well. Peekaboo. See the Grad, see the rockets, right? All lined up like that. You have good eyes as a drone operator. So that's the see, it's hard to tell, but you can spot the rockets. I guess that's the cab. That's the cab over there. See here? Oh, that could have been. Maybe it was a HIMARS or that was an Excalibur. That was a pretty bang on. And that's cleared away the vegetation so you can see what you're looking at. She's caught. That's it. Nobody hung around to see if the rockets cooked off or not. I do love when the BM-21 rockets go firing off sideways on their own. Next up. One explosion of an ammunition detonation reported in the Russian-controlled Sorokin, Krasnodon, Luhansk region. Pretty far from the front line. So there is the cook-off. Looks like small, who knows what those are. Rockets. Could have been phosphorus or something, I'm not sure. Interesting color, like a brown. It's not black, it's not white, so something interesting cooked off there. You can see it again. It almost looks like the phosphorus shells. Sorry, that's a long distance one. Not great, but I do love these apartment shots. That one, this one looks like it's a little while later. You can secondary cook-offs and it's just pure white. Again, pure white, which tells you typically it's a clean ammunition burn off at that point. There's the initial one that was brown, that we talked about before. And the coolest smoke ring I think I've seen in the war. So someone got close. Looked straight up. Pretty interesting. Okay, and got a little bunch here. A Russian BMP-2 destroyed. Oh, this one I meant to. Yeah, so this was left from Andrew Perpetua. It's a potatoy quality, but it was destroyed there. You just trust me. That's video's not going to load. Let me get rid of that one. This one, this might be all his. Let me see it. Oh, that's the same one. Sorry, I meant to delete these. I know I put my own in here. Russian bridge layer destroyed. I also meant to delete this one, but let's see if we get a good picture. Not super clear, but that will show up as a special equipment deleted, destroyed in an upcoming report in a day or two. So when you see special equipment deleted, sometimes it's a bridge layer, sometimes it's a trench digger. Oh yeah, these are the volleyball nets. So this is really cool. It's embarrassing actually for the Russians, but basically what they did was they hung up these nets on the city streets in Bakhmut because they thought that they'll just magically catch drones like they would catch fish in a stream. I'm going to show you that the fish are smarter than that. This is literally driving down a street. Like an FPV or a drone operator can't see these nets. The thought process is that they're going to allow vehicles to go racing down the road, and the FPV drones that are going after them will be so focused on the vehicle they'll run into these nets and let them get away. That's the thought process. In actuality, the fishies know how to get around these drones. So, again, you're going to see the same volleyball nets across this road. Same road, maybe, who knows, but... And the drone flies over the net and straight into the tank. I'm going to go ahead and say hanging those nets up was a waste of time and energy, but if it made you feel good, so be it. What volleyball net's doing? Who's next? FPV pilot equals GOAT. The Ukrainian Atom Group, together with the 2nd Rifle Battalion, the 67th Mechanized Brigade, attacks a Russian position. Oh, I think this is the one that flies through the woods. I wanted to show you guys again. This might be the greatest drone flying I've ever seen in my life, in competitions or in Ukraine. So this guy's on the hunt in the woods, like Empire Strikes Back. Oh, sorry, Axel, you gotta go. So you look at these white pines that this drone has got to navigate, and you're thinking there's no way he's going to go in there, and he does. He's flying around stumps, he's flying around trees, just missing them. Can't see behind him, and he's just, swinging around back and forth, hunting. He knows there's something in here he wants. He knows there's an orc trench. All right? So he swings around, gets a better approach. Now he's starting to focus in on what he wants, barely keeping a signal. It's got the trench network all below him here. Scoping her out. Hasn't hit a tree yet. Barely makes it between these trees. Like, I can't believe he did it. Swings around, hard turns, and then he comes in, he goes, oh, there we go. That's what I've been looking for the whole time. Ground low, underneath the camo net, hangs it right, and goes right into their quarters where they all are. Jaga jaga bada boom. You're not going to see better drone flying anywhere, ever. That was... I'm still to this, I can't believe he didn't hit a tree. So let's go to this one. Russian soldiers move away from the line of contact and carry out wounded. I had a translated version of this before, but I don't now. So you're going to hear a guy in the radio basically screaming at these guys and basically saying that they're all abandoning positions. They've left holes in the line, and he's going to come find them. It's paraphrasing. Oh, where'd my video go? Oh, there it is. Let's go here. Oh. This is the guy. It's like you've all left, you'll abandon us. You've left holes in the lines. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you. Something like that. And these Russians are just like, no, we got one wounded guy, 12 of us are gonna go. And they are out. They are done. Nobody's gonna be left manning that line. For once they care about their wounded, right? It takes 12 of them to take out one wounded comrade. Next up, soldier of the Ukrainian 40th Separate Artillery Brigade hitting Russian drone launched position and an ammunition depot. So these are, I mean, you can take one drone out of the sky, that's great. If you can hit drone launching facility, the people who are skilled at doing it, that's very, very valuable.
Врага не буде супостата, і буде син, і буде мати, і будуть люди на землі.
Oh, that was that a paladin? I'm not sure. But
Ми боремося за сотні людських мрій. Ворог, здавайся, ти тікай.
I think I'm pushing my luck on the copyrighted songs.
Ми українці.
That's going to be copyrighted. That's too good of a song to not be copyrighted. I'm going to get lots of copyright strikes on this one, I'll bet you. So I can't read Cyrillic, but one of these was a drone launching facility, and the other ones were ammo. Anyways, sorry I couldn't be more clear on which was which, but they are geo-confirmed, so we're good. Last one over here. Ukrainian 103rd Lviv Defense Brigade hits hideout and vehicle with kamikaze drones. Geo-confirmed. So you're basically going to see, it's almost like a culvert, whatever, underneath the road. It doesn't go all the way through, I don't believe, but you're going to see some Russians were basically made a little hideout underneath this rail bed. Nope. There's the FPV drone coming in, and Jaga Jaga, that's where they're going for. And it's a pretty good hit. So these guys pick up whoever got wounded, and they're bugging out, and this guy's aiming up in the sky for the drones. And then some of them got into this BMP and said, okay, we'll see you guys later. We got the vehicle. We're good to go. And Jaga Jaga. It got hit in the rear. If I was a Russian soldier, I would not want to be in a vehicle, and I would not want to be near a clump of my friends. I would want to be alone on foot. Last one, no, second last one up here. Oh, got a few more. Point of view of smoke in the distance in Shibakino, Russia, after shelling in the region. So this one's kind of weird. I don't know what's here. I don't know what was targeted. There's no conflict called out, anything like that, but it is in Russian territory. It is confirmed smoke. It's believed to have come from shelling, and something was hit. It was geolocated to those three. You can see those three houses, right? Purple, green, sorry, blue, greeny, red, whatever, and then back here, those same colors, right? So you can see it is geolocated. And something was hit and shelled in the Russian territory. Not a big deal, nothing to put on your radar, but that one's kind of an odd one. And who knows, maybe it just might have been a territorial defense force that saw a target of opportunity and called it in. Maybe like a gathering of troops or equipment or something like that. An ammunition explosion in occupied Sorokin. Also a good one. Sorry, let me give you a better view of that. That's looks like a substantial depot that was hit there. Brown, white, and then black secondary, almost like fuel or something went off. I don't know, but there are secondaries going off, and there's something's hit there too. So there's two hits, and this one was substantial. You can still hear the secondaries going off, and they're solid. So, pretty interesting. And next up, the Kursk strikes from. Yeah, I wanted to give you this as kind of a little bit of a reminder. So, Kursk was hit about 24 or 36 hours ago. Right? You guys remember something in Kursk was hit. And we weren't quite sure what. Some people said it was command and control. Some people said it was oil. Some people said it was ammunition. So that's just a bit of a reminder. And here we go. So here's Kalino number 1. This is actually what was hit, which is the air base north of Kursk. In Kalino today, there were reports about a drone attack on Kursk, specifically on the FSB building. Oh yeah, that was it too. The thoughts were it was an FSB building, and it might have been hit too. And at the oil refinery near the Kalino airfield, a comment from a Russian source associated with the Russian military aviation appeared, which looks to be connected to those events. Something needs to be written about Kalino. It's difficult to write anything here. My condolences, brothers. We will live. So clearly, something bad happened, and that person wanted to say something about it, but didn't feel they could, and knew that they'd lost some comrades. Here's number 2. Again, this is all from 24 hours ago. More information about yesterday's Kalino military airfield incident. As per the main director of intelligence of Ukraine, at the airfield Kalino in Kursk region, a Ukrainian drone was landed by Russian electronic warfare systems on the runway. So the Ukrainians loaded up a drone full of explosives and flew it near this area, allowed it to be captured by the Ministry of Defense or FSB or whatever, and allowed it to be taken over and landed at their runway. When the leadership of the aviation regiment and the FSB officers arrived to take a closer look, so it might have been a Bayraktar or something good that drew in a whole bunch of people, but when they arrived for a closer look, the drone was detonated, and basically it took out a large number of people. As claimed, the following were killed or injured during the explosion. Commander of the 14th Aviation Regiment, basically their whole commander, one of his deputies, a group of aviation officers, a representative of the FSB military counterintelligence, and airport employees. So they basically lured them in and then blew the drone up. Like a trap drone, Trojan horse, I need a better term, but something more accurate than those two. But trap drone works. Come on, number 3. Number 3. Oh, I gotta translate this. One sec. Come on. There we go. So this basically says the same thing. I'm not going to read it all, but this air base is basically home for these fighter jets. Same thing, that it calls out that the drone was landed and that it took out some base personnel, lists off all the same people again. Powerful explosion occurred directly on the runway. So this drone wasn't flying around with some sort of a Fab 500 or a JDAM or something like that, and then it was able to, instead of drop it, just manually explode it. This is planned. You can't detonate an explosive on a drone when you've lost control of that drone. You have to have independent eyes and ears on that drone, know when people have approached it and know when to detonate it. So this is one of those brilliant things that the Ukrainians have done. So basically, the air base had Su-30s and MiG-29s, I believe, on the air base. They were all spread out like that, and none of the planes were hit, but they definitely took out some base personnel and command structure, which is fantastic. That seems to be the norm. And the last one, number 4, for Kalino, this is a close-up. So you can basically see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 planes there. For sure, 10, 11. These ones are potatoey. I don't think there's anything there. 12, 13, 14. And then there's, those look like Su-30s. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 planes, something like that on the base. At least there might be more elsewhere. But anyways, there's something else there. So half the Eastern Air Base, and the Ukrainians did some damage. So there you go. That is all of the known locations. So now we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 mystery locations. These should go pretty quick. One of them is a speech from Zelensky. And to start off with, even walruses hate Russians. So this is a Russian ship trying to pull its rib outboard, its boat up onto the ship, and a walrus has basically had enough of the Russians. So you can see they're trying to get the boat on board. They're having a little trouble. The back end's sagging a bit. There's a walrus, got the big old tusks sticking out. And he's trying to puncture it. And there you go. Put his tusks right through it. And now he leaves. His work is done. He knows he got it. And that rib is deflating as we speak. Oh, he flips in the middle bird. If he's smart to get out of there, those orcs might shoot at him. See some ice in the water. You can tell they're pretty far north. Might have a calf there. Maybe that's why it was so protective. Yeah, it's got a calf. There we go. That explains it. Now it all makes sense, right? A little protective of the baby. Next up, Russian losses. Covered these off earlier today. Just go over them real quick for anybody who's maybe playing catch up. 420 men, 5 tanks, 13 APVs, all kind of low to mid. 27 artillery. That's been average lately, which is really, really good. 2 MLRS, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and 7 UAVs. And they are approaching $88 billion in total losses. Coming soon to a theater near you. UK Defence Intelligence update. Another little good update. So this is the latest defense intelligence update for September 25th. Over the last weekend, Russian forces have made a concerted effort to conduct local counterattacks against advancing Ukrainian forces in both the Kharkiv and Bakhmut sections. In both areas, Ukrainian forces have defeated the Russian attacks and maintained their hold on recently liberated territory. So as the Ukrainians take territory, they know they got to hunker down, because as soon as they take it, a counterattack is coming. The Russians' counterattacks were thwarted in both the south and the eastern area. Comments posted by the Russian military community suggest extreme disillusionment. When they're using words like that, and this is defense intelligence, so when you're using a term like extreme, it means extreme. Like, the military doesn't use extreme like that unless it's absolutely confirmed and it's basically rampant. So there's extreme disillusionment among those involved in these counterattacks, especially near Bakhmut, with reports of ill-conceived advances lacking artillery support and heavy casualties. So basically, like I said, what Shoigu is going to be planning again in the future for October. These basically, the Russians, they get knocked out of a trench, they get knocked back, and then their commanders grab anybody can fog a mirror. They cobble together, 3, 4, 5, 6 BMPs full of guys, and they basically say head over that ridge and go take that ground back. And they have no artillery, they have no air support, they have no drones, they have no combined arms, they have maybe no communication. They might not even have enough ammunition. There's been reports of Russians going after Ukrainians with shovels and getting killed. And so then these guys get wiped out. They send out 120, maybe come back, and these guys are absolutely disillusioned, and they make reports. During the last 9 months, the Russian force in Ukraine has proved itself capable of conducting stalwart defensive operations, which is true. You've got to give them credit. Once they dig a trench, they dig like hobbits, and they sit in those trenches, and they are hard to dislodge. However, and continues to display only minimal capability on the offense, you let them leave their trench and try to conduct something offensively and retake territory, they can't. They need 50,000 prisoners and Wagner to help them take anything. Commanders struggle to orchestrate complex joint effects, to concentrate sufficient artillery ammunition, and to maintain high morale. When the Russians try to concentrate artillery fire, there's a 50-50 chance at least that they're going to concentrate it on their own guys, which they've done time and time again, especially in the Bakhmut area. There was 2 instances in like about 3 or 4 day stretch where the Russians were retreating so fast that the Russians thought that it was Ukrainians advancing, and so they started dropping artillery on them intentionally and basically wiped out, I think it was 65 guys with artillery. It was a really good artillery strike. It was just on the wrong people. Next up, footage of the U.S. supplied AN/TWQ-1 Avenger SHORAD, short range air defense is what SHORAD stands for, system in the service of the Ukrainians. So this is basically a Humvee kitted out with 8 Stingers on top. So, and these guys take out a cruise missile. So I'll show you this, which is really cool. So you see the cruise missile. These guys are tracking on radar, and that grindy sound you hear is their turret moving with it. It's not really a turret, it's more like a pod. He's gonna fire. He fires, ejects the casing. Off goes the Stinger, and boom! Takes the cruise missile out of the sky. So that could have been one of those Kinjals, right? Pretty cool. Now, what does this thing look like on the outside, you're asking me? Well, I just happen to have that for you. It's a cool little video. So again, these are Humvees. Oh, it's one of those ads. Hang on 1 second. What the heck is going on here? Kill the ad. All right. Let's get some volume. Where's my volume? Oh, it's over here. So you see, there's a operator sitting inside there. They have radar. They've got 8 Stingers loaded up in here. They've got I don't know what that is, 7.62. Anyways, they've got a machine gun loaded up in there as well. And this thing rotates 360. It's pretty cool. And there's your optics.
Meet the Avenger, U.S. Army short-range air defense system. The fully automated short-range Avenger system is the Army's premier shoot-on-the-move air defense weapon. The Avenger, also known as the AN/TWQ-1, is an American self-propelled surface-to-air missile system. It's designed to provide mobile, short-range air defense protection for ground.
And I'm not sure if you caught that, but this thing does actually fire. It can fire on the move, so it does not need to be stationary. So not only can it can shoot while scooting.
Ground units against various threats, including cruise missiles, unmanned aerial vehicles, low-flying fixed-wing aircraft, and helicopters. The Avenger weapon consists of a 360-degree rotating turret mounted on a Humvee chassis. The baseline configuration consists of a gunner's turret with missile pods mounted on each side. Each missile pod is known as the standard vehicle-mounted launcher and can carry 4 Stinger missiles. These missiles can be removed and fired in the manned portable air defense systems.
So and that's cool, right? So if you need to, you can actually take these missiles out and hand them off to individuals, and they can use them in their own man pads.
Deployment configuration. The FIM-92 Stinger is capable of tracking and engaging targets up to an altitude of 10,000 feet and can cover distances of up to 8 kilometers. In addition to the missile launcher, the Avenger system is equipped with a 50 caliber M3 machine
It's a 50
gun,
cal,
which
sorry.
can be used to
I knew
engage
that.
ground targets or as a backup defense against air threats. The Avenger weapon system has an unobstructed 360-degree field of fire and can engage at elevations between -10 and +70 degrees. The gunner has sufficient visibility out of the turret for visual target acquisition, tracking, and engagement. A combination glass sight is used through which the gunner looks to aim the missiles and on which a driven reticle display is projected. The driven reticle indicates the aiming point of the missile seeker to confirm to the gunner that the missile seeker is locked onto the desired target. Avenger's sensor package includes a forward-looking infrared, an eye-safe laser rangefinder, and a video auto tracker. These sensors provide Avenger with a target acquisition capability in battlefield obscuration at night and in adverse weather. Furthermore, the Avenger system is equipped with an identification friend or foe that enables it to distinguish between friendly and hostile aircraft, reducing the risk of friendly fire incidents. In addition, the Avenger has 2 radio antennas that provide reliable communication with other units on the battlefield. The Avenger missile system uses the AN/MPQ-64 Sentinel radar as its primary fire control radar. The Sentinel radar is a 3D search and acquisition radar that operates in the X-band frequency range. The Sentinel radar has a maximum range of 15 kilometers and can detect targets at altitudes up to 9,000 meters. It has a high update rate, which means that it can quickly track
30,000 feet.
fast-moving targets and provide accurate target data to the Avenger fire control system. The Avenger surface-to-air missile typically requires a crew of 2 personnel to operate effectively. The first crew member is the gunner, who operates the turret and engages targets using the Stinger missiles. The second crew member is the driver, who controls the vehicle's movement and serves as a lookout for potential threats. The Avenger can be quickly deployed and set up in a variety of environments, including remote and rugged terrain, making it an ideal air defense system for forward-deployed military units. The system is air transportable, which means it can be transported by helicopter or C-130 transport plane.
If you're a successful and single
Oh
man
my
who is
God.
frustrated with dating lower than he is capable of, and you don't
This makes it ideal for rapid deployment to forward operating bases and other remote locations. The Avengers
That might be the first
effectiveness
time
has
a
been
commercial has
demonstrated
come
in
up on
numerous
one of my
conflicts around
streams.
the world. It was first deployed in
Knock on
Operation
wood.
Desert Storm in 1991, where it provided air defense protection for ground forces. Since then, it's been used in conflicts in Bosnia, Kosovo, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Ukraine. In each of these conflicts, the Avenger has played a vital role in protecting troops and assets from enemy air attacks. One of the key advantages of the Avenger is its ability to operate independently or as a part of a larger air defense network. When operating independently, the Avenger can be controlled by a single operator who's trained to operate the AN/TWQ-1's fire control system. When operating as part of a larger network, the Avenger can be integrated with other air defense, such as the Patriot missile, to provide a comprehensive air defense umbrella.
You can have Gepards, Avengers, NASAMs, Patriots, SAMTs, IRIS-Ts, etc. You can have them all integrated together and basically have a multi-layered umbrella, so you can take out multiple targets. You can send the right missile or the right ammunition at the right target, so you're not sending a Patriot at a $3,000 drone, and you're also not leaving an Avenger to take out an Iskander, right? So it's cool that it can be fully integrated into modern tech.
U.S. Avenger systems in Ukraine. In January, 8 Avenger air defense systems were included as part of a $2.5 billion military aid package supporting Ukraine during the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine to defend critical civilian infrastructure against cruise missiles and Iranian-made Shahed-136 lethal drone attacks. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh told reporters Thursday that the U.S.-made Avenger system is a ground-to-air missile that's valuable for its mobility and its ability to accurately defend ground troops against cruise missiles and small, low-flying aircraft. The Avenger short-range air defense systems will also provide Ukraine with capability to protect Ukrainian troops and critical infrastructure against unmanned aerial systems and helicopters. Lieutenant General Serhiy Naiev, commander of the Ukrainian Joint Forces, has announced that the Avenger surface-to-air missiles are now on combat duty in the Northern Operational Zone with the Ukrainian Army.
I'll jump
launcher
ahead.
to perform counter-rocket, artillery, mortar, CRAM, counter-unmanned aerial vehicle.
Anyway, so that covers off the basics of it. I just wanted to give you a good idea of what the Avenger was in case you weren't familiar with it, and look at some kind of cool functionality video. Next up, the MDK-3 trench digging vehicle. So this thing's kind of cool. I haven't actually seen this one. I've seen a Russian variant that's a little different. The wheel is basically turning in the same direction as the vehicle is driving. This one, it's perpendicular to it. Looks like it digs a pretty substantial trench, to be honest with you. That is just moving a ton of dirt. This wheel breaks it up, and then that wheel shoots it. There you go. If you want to dig a trench fast, that's what you do. Third last one. Ukraine is testing a new naval drone. This one doesn't look like it's in anywhere close to a deployable state, but at the same time, it's being tested out, and it's it's sensitive enough that they've blurred out the motor, propeller, propulsion section of it. So let's just take a look at this, and this thing is large. So if I'm the Russians and I'm seeing them testing something that looks like a Mark 8, Mark 5, Mark 8 U.S. Torpedo, this thing's huge. It's a carrier killer. So they clearly don't want the propulsion set up to be looked at all. I'm wondering if it's like jet, some sort of a jet propulsion. I didn't see a propeller, and this does not look like it's for observational purposes. I mean, who knows what state this actual prototype is in, but at the same time, this thing looks like it's got one purpose. And it's not to observe, and it's not to listen. It looks like a solid steel pipe bomb, to be honest with you. Anyways, very interesting. We saw some sort of a naval drone, torpedo, etc., being lowered in the water previously. I think it was a different one. It looked like a shorter one, and it looked like it had a wider diameter to it, but. Anyways, who knows what the Ukrainians are working on in their crazy little labs, but it's going to be good. I can't wait for them to bust out the next variants. Here's a speech from President Zelensky. Let me just widen that out for you.
I wish you health, fellow Ukrainians. Today, Defense Minister Umarov delivered an important report. The first American-made Abrams tanks are already in Ukraine. We are preparing them to reinforce our...
Okay, come on. I did the Ukrainian colors for the closed captioning. I hope somebody appreciates
actions
that.
against the occupiers, and it will be a significant reinforcement. We are also working to get all the other weapons capabilities we need. This includes F-16S. We are preparing pilots and infrastructure. This also includes long-range weapons. We are doing our utmost to enable Ukraine to do more to liberate its territory. The same goes for air defense. To cover the entire territory of our country, we need more systems than we currently have. The best thing for us is to be able to produce air defense and other advanced weapons. This is the only way to guarantee Ukraine's security. And we will build all the necessary production facilities step by step. And by the way, we see a very clear interest of the world in working with us to build a new defense force, not only for Ukraine, but also for our partners. For our world as a whole, a rules-based world that will not tolerate the aggression and terror that Russia is trying to make the norm. Today, Minister for Strategic Industries, Kamyshin, reported on the preparation of the first Defense Industries Forum. There are already more than 160 companies that will participate. 26 countries, different parts of the world, America, Asia, Europe, Australia, manufacturers of a full range of weapons. We will bend every effort to unite the world to create a new and powerful arsenal for Ukraine and all defenders of international law. Today, I also held meetings on the results of my visit to the United States and Canada, as well as meetings with the leaders of partner countries on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. All the agreements we have reached, all the prospects for Ukraine, everything must be implemented as soon as possible. For each of the areas, we are appointing a specific official who will be responsible for the implementation of the agreements. Defense, political cooperation, strengthening and purging of institutions, energy sector, recovery. I would like to pay special attention to Penny Pritzker, the newly appointed U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine's recovery. This is a very important appointment. It is a clear symbol of America's confidence in Ukraine's future. I had a meeting with Mrs. Pritzker in New York, and she was also in Washington for expanded talks with President Biden. The atmosphere is productive, and it is important for us to ensure that the special representative can start working with Ukraine and in Ukraine as soon as possible. I also held a meeting with government officials and the Office on our grain exports. We coordinated further steps and noted the results achieved. First, the European Commission endorsed the roadmap for mutual monitoring of grain exports. This is completely rational. Second, we are gradually removing emotions from this topic on most issues. Work with our neighbors can and should become fully constructive, and Ukraine is doing everything for this.
That's the second time I've heard him say in the last 24 hours, remove emotions.
Third, I am grateful to those of our partners who have prevented violations of EU trade rules and the association agreement. We expect the same constructive cooperation as with Bulgaria and Romania from other neighboring countries. The European Union is a space for mutual understanding and cooperation. This is how it should be. And one more thing. I would like to thank all our Air Force servicemen, all our anti-aircraft gunners, and servicemen of mobile fire groups who repel Russian missile and drone attacks every day and night. During just one attack against Ukraine last night, the enemy used 33 strike weapons, shads, and missiles. Most of them were launched against Odessa and the region. Most of them were shot down. Unfortunately, not all of them. Unfortunately, there were hits. But 30 targets out of 33 were neutralized. It is important to bear in mind that each neutralized target means saved lives. And we will retaliate against Russia for every strike against our cities and villages, against every Ukrainian community. For Odessa, for Berislav and Kherson, for Donetsk, Kharkiv, and Sumy regions.
Believe it.
For all our regions. I thank everyone who rescues people after the occupiers' attacks. I thank everyone in the world who helps us defend Ukraine. Glory to our warriors. Glory to all who work for the sake of the state. Glory to Ukraine.
Slava Ukraini. Good speech. Always a good speech. It's amazing. I think he's missed 2 nights out of 579 or something like that. It's pretty astounding. Last up, I just want to leave on a positive note. This is another Ukrainian soldier returning home. He's got a young boy and a younger girl, and the younger girl looks a little maybe miffed that he left in the first place, but it all ends well. The Reddit ones always make me nervous. Sometimes they disappear. Sometimes they lag load. Come on. Let's do it. Okay. Let's expand it. I'm going to let it play. Here he is. Boy, so happy. And there's the little girl. She's not as happy a camper as the brother over there. Come on. It's wonderful. It's sad that they have to leave it. It's sad that they have to have those reunions, but I do love seeing them. Anyways, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the content. For anybody watching this after the fact on sort of replay or whatever, if you have any comments, feedback, questions, etc., I'd love to hear them. Throw them in the chat. Please subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, most importantly. Turn on your notifications so that you know when I'm posting again. And I did include a link in the chat for Patreon or for Buy Me Coffee if you ever feel that you can help support the channel. That would be much appreciated. Again, have a great night. We'll